My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney at the R&R Law Group, and we're located in the always beautiful and sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And today we're talking about the Trump Mar-a-Lago raid. We've got a lot to unpack here. A lot of stories that came out since yesterday and even since this morning when we did our morning walk and talk, which we made public for everybody. But a lot of activity today. And many Republicans are now demanding answers from the FBI, from the DOJ. Donald Trump himself is demanding that the DOJ unseal the search warrant, and not just the search warrant, but the entirety of it, which includes the affidavit. We've covered a lot of this, but to get our bearing straight on the show, let's go over to the mind map. And of course, here we have it. And let's take a look. As you can see, what happened? Did my mouse literally just die? I swear. It had to work for me to press the let's go live button, and now it is not working. So it's just like amazing. All right, so I'm gonna take the battery out and plug it back in, and let's see if it. All right, there it is. All right, there it is. So now it works. All right, do you see? I try to plan for everything, man. All right, so it's working now. The mouse is working. All right, so now you can see we've got 5 different topics that we are going to get into today. We're going to start off with the docket update and just check in on the search warrant docket because there's a lot of activity, not a lot of updates, but a lot of activity. And so we'll unpack that. And then we'll check in over on Truth Social and see specifically what Donald Trump had to say about that affidavit. And we've got an update on Merrick Garland. He is somebody who apparently deliberated for quite a long time before he actually made the decision to go and invade Trump's residence. And so we have to ask ourselves some questions about that, which we will. We've got 2 big letters that are coming out today, one from Jim Jordan and one that we're going to review that actually came last week, but because it's about 15 pages long, I didn't get to it last week. We're going to take a quick look at it today. But you can see we've got the House of Representatives, Jim Jordan, and many people on, I think it's the House Oversight Committee. They all signed a letter, all the Republicans signed a letter over to Merrick Garland, and they're saying, we are demanding now that you preserve your records, right? Don't delete any of those emails. Don't delete any of those text messages. Do you think that you're the Secret Service and you can just delete January 6th stuff? Don't even get it in your head, your thick skull there, Merrick. So we'll go through that letter in detail. And Representative Jim Jordan was on the Laura Ingraham show, so we'll take a look at that. Senator Grassley, he is from Iowa, and he's just one of my favorite senators. He's out there this morning. He was talking about the Iowa State Fair and some other things. Very fun guy. But he is saying the public demands transparency about what took place at Mar-a-Lago. And he sent, a monster letter. Look at this. I'll just give you a quick preview on this thing. 15 pages over to the director of the FBI, Director Wray. Look at this puppy. It's 15 pages. Well, we're going to go through a lot of it. I don't know how much we'll get to, but all these are all questions. Okay. Literally every one of these bullet points is a question. Signed, your friend, Chuck Grassley. Yeah. All right. So we'll go through that one. Now we've got some media smears that we have to attend to. This woman, her name is Norah O'Donnell, and she's on CBS or NBC or one of them. Who cares? She was smearing not only the Trump people and the Trump defense, but our good friend, well, actually, no, she didn't smear Viva. She's a part of the media. The media did smear Viva. We're going to take a look at this guy. Will Carless posted this story about Viva in the aftermath of the Mar-a-Lago raid. And, since we're doing a media segment, we're going to, make sure that Viva gets some, backup in attendance here, because this guy, Will Careless, was calling him sort of guilty by association with the Cincinnati person who attacked the FBI building there in Cincinnati. And that is obviously, not Viva was not associated with that at all. And so they were trying to sort of hint at that, and we'll unpack that. But Norah O'Donnell, this woman, she was an individual who said Trump lied about the FBI seizing his passports. Remember that saga we talked about yesterday? They actually apparently got those. I think inadvertently when they were walking out of there with their boxes and Melania's dresses or whatever they had. So Norah O'Donnell comes out and says, they didn't take the passports, you Trump liars. And then Trump's team, they actually posted an email from the FBI that said, oh, yeah, sorry about your passports that we have. Where can we return those to you? So we'll go through that. The media is just, the worst. And then depending on time, we'll see what we've got here with Liz Cheney. Tonight is her going away party. We suspect, we don't know yet. And they say don't count your eggs or chickens before they hatch, or your omelets before the eggs are cracked or something. I don't know how it goes. But Liz Cheney probably going to be beaten tonight by Harriet Hageman in the Wyoming primary. And so we'll check in with CNN and PBS at the end of the broadcast to see if there's any good news from those Wyoming polls. And so, as you can see, my friends, we have just got a whole smattering of topics to attend to. Look at all this stuff. We're going to get into a lot, and we're going to have to pick up the pace on this here today. But if you want to be a part of the show, the place to do that is over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, and our amazing community is chatting away over there. We've got JC the Music Man, Vienticus Prime, Savvy Sue, Cindy79 is here. We've got Phil in Flyover Country, Tweak is here, Facts Matter, and our locals community is just burgeoning now. We're growing by leaps and bounds, and we want you to come be a part of it. You also get those morning walk and talk. So this morning on YouTube, I posted a public walk and talk. We do that almost every day. We try to get 6 of the 7 days out of the week done. And so if you're a member on YouTube or a member on watchingthewatchers.locals.com, you can get access to that. And I've got more stuff cooking. My Atom Mini switcher was supposed to get here today, and it didn't. I said yesterday I was like a kid on Christmas, going to be waiting by the door, and I checked the order page, and it said, oh, it's not coming on Tuesday. It's coming on Saturday. You know, what? It's like not even close. So I got to wait till Saturday. Not happy about it. Also, my law firm, okay, really, this is a huge part of my life and what I do. I had an amazing team with our directors this morning. Safety, clarity, and hope is our mission to help good people charged with crimes find those things. We offer free case evaluations at 480-787-0394. Your referrals really keep us busy, and we're very passionate about this work. So thank you for allowing us to help anybody in Arizona who is charged with a crime. We're very good at what we do, and we appreciate your referrals. All right, and so now, without any further ado, my friends, it is time to get into the stories of the day. And we're going to start here with Donald Trump and the affidavit. Donald Trump now demanding that the affidavit be unsealed. And previously, we've talked about the warrant that was involved in the raid by the FBI in his personal residence at Mar-a-Lago. But we only got to see the inventory and the cover sheet of the warrant. And now we're asking ourselves, what was the justification for that warrant? Why did they think that they had the privilege, the ability, the legal cover, the justification to go in there into Trump's residence and just go start seizing boxes? Well, they had to write something to convince a judge to give him permission to do that. It's called the affidavit. And we had talked here on this channel previously about Merrick Garland and him being somebody who was okay communicating about this case when he came out during his press conference and he gave us a big litany about, justice, this and ethics and whatever. Didn't really learn a whole lot from him, but he did come out and communicate it. So we were all surprised when yesterday the prosecutors filed this with the court. Here's what they said. They said, Judge, the affidavit in this case presents very different sets of circumstances and considerations than the cover sheet and the inventory list. They say there remain compelling reasons, including to protect the integrity of an ongoing law enforcement investigation that implicates national security, that supports keeping the affidavit sealed. Right? That's Merrick Garland. That's the new posture on this thing. National security, criminal investigation, ongoing. This is going to jeopardize all of that if we are now unsealing the affidavit, the entirety of the warrant. And so after that got submitted on our program yesterday, we wanted to see what Donald Trump was going to say and how his defense team would respond to this. And right after the program, 17 hours ago from when I took this screenshot, Donald Trump was on True Social, and this is what he said. He said, there is no way to justify the unannounced raid of Mar-a-Lago. And raid is all capitalized, right? And there's a lot of synonyms in the English language that we're going to be able to use as this entire saga continues. The unannounced raid of Mar-a-Lago, the home of the 45th president of the United States, he says, who by far got, certain, outcomes better than other presidents. He says, by a very large number of gun-toting FBI agents, they all came into my residence, and the Department of, quote, Justice. But in the interest of transparency, which is a word we use a lot here, I call for the immediate release of the completely unredacted affidavit pertaining to this horrible and shocking break-in. Also, the judge on the case should recuse. And that was posted on True Social by Donald Trump, at Real Donald Trump, 45th president of the United States of America. calling the FBI's execution of the search warrant, right? That's what they say. That's an execution of a search warrant. Cops do this all the time. It's called emotive conjugation. They say a suspect fled the scene, whereas a defense attorney might say, what are you talking about? They returned home, right? They went home. They didn't flee the scene. They went home. Here they're saying that they executed a search warrant. Trump says, no, they invaded my personal residence. There was a raid and a break-in. And also the judge should recuse himself. So we're going to get a lot of this, right? Donald Trump is very good at this. And he's sort of practiced, basically won him the last election. So the first election. So that's his response. And now what has the judge done? And so let's take a quick look at this entry. The rest of the court docket is not all that interesting. We'll see. Yeah, let's go over to the docket and just take a quick look at it. We've got plenty of time. This is over from the United States versus sealed search warrant, and it is the case that is pertaining to Donald Trump and the invasion of Mar-a-Lago. And look, we've got several things that were entered here from August 15th. Yesterday, we left off reading this response, right? The most recent cases are on top. So we had a response by the United States, and this is where they were opposing the unsealing of the warrant. They did not want that to be unsealed. So we already read through that 13 pages, and I gave you the highlight. National security. They don't want Trump to know how this investigation is going. They're saying that this would give him a template or a framework, I guess, for other presidents who might be prosecuted in the future. So they said, we can't allow this to happen. So then we got several additional entries. We had a notice of appearance from other people, and I haven't seen this yet, so this is not publicly available yet. I haven't seen that. Then we've got several orders on motion for miscellaneous relief, and don't see that one either. But then this was the one that really hit today, and it kind of, was interesting because we actually have a hearing scheduled now on the 18th. So that is going to be Thursday. We've got an in-person hearing that's going to be held to really settle this issue about whether there should be unsealed. Order on the motion to unseal the document. Judge is saying, everybody come crashing in here on Thursday. And look at this. No remote or telephonic appearances are going to be permitted. If any movement or intervener wants to file a reply to the government's response, they may do so by 9 a.m. that morning. Okay, so the government responded, and they said, do not unseal the warrant. No matter what you do, do not unseal the warrant. But look, there's all of these other people who really, really want it unsealed, like really badly. We've talked about many of these. And in fact, one of them has filed an appeal. Okay, so this guy, Paul M. Dorsey, he filed a motion to intervene. We've got this motion to unseal. We've got that managing editor of Albany Times, a new one yesterday. ABC, motion to intervene. Another motion to intervene. Dow Jones Company, okay? Everybody wants to be involved in this case. Why wouldn't they? It's Trump. So all of that is happening, and we already know, yesterday we read the judge denied one of those motions to intervene. Like a bunch of people came in here and the judge said, not everybody needs to intervene and be involved in this case. Your interests are served by the media, and the media is enough. We gave a couple people access to this case, but we don't need to give everybody additional access. And here it is, right? Denying 52, 53, and 54, these pro se motions. These are all people, and I didn't look into any of them. I don't know if they're journalists or just private citizens or what. But the judge said, you don't get access to intervene. The interests asserted by the movements are adequately represented by the media. Now, today, right, and yesterday there was a great question. One of you asked this on either watchingthewatchers.locals.com or either on a super chat here. But it was a very interesting question. Since the judge denied this motion, can they appeal that, right? What happens if the judge, like if you're in the middle of a case, people know about appeals sort of at the end of the case, but what happens in the middle? Like what happens if this guy says, well, I want access to those documents. The judge denied it, and he says, well, how about no? I think I should have access to that. Can he appeal that order? And the answer is yes, right? So now we have an appeal off of just one order. And so let me show you that. So you can see these cases can really just sort of get out of control. Look, there it is. We've got here a transmission of a notice to appeal. So this guy, Paul M. Dorsey, he filed a motion. He wanted access to the warrant, and the judge denied it. So what did he do? He filed a notice of appeal, and the court transmitted it over to the U.S. Court of Appeals. So it's all going over there, right? They're going to now the Court of Appeals is going to have them battle that out, and then it'll come back over here. But by the time it comes back into this docket, this case may be over, or it may still may be moot at that point in time, right? It may have already been unsealed. So Paul Dorsey is really, sort of going after that. He wants to see it. Transmission of the notice of appeal, a letter from somebody named Michael Barth, and then an order on the motion to unseal the document. And again, all this stuff, a lot of this is paperless, so there's no actual real order to see. But the takeaway from this docket update is that the judge is going to be scheduling a hearing on the 18th. So that's going to be Thursday. It's going to be 9 a.m. Eastern time. So that will be 6 a.m. here on the West Coast. And it sounds like no telephonic, no remote appearances allowed. So, I don't know what the media, right? There's probably going to be a media room, and it's probably going to be overflowing with people. So I'd imagine there's going to be Twitter threads, and we'll have to jip from those to see what is happening there and then wait for all of the official reports. But that is the update from Donald Trump, the search warrant, the docket update, the Mar-a-Lago raid. And we have one more little bit to attend to here, because as we're asking ourselves, why was this raid conducted now? A big part of the question, or a lot of people's questions, are, well, it seems like it's sort of in close proximity to the election, to the midterms, which of course is true because those are just a couple months away. But we also heard that there was a lot of urgency in this saga, that Merrick Garland and the DOJ and all the people involved in this investigation had no choice but to go and raid Trump's residence because of national security implications, because this involved nuclear materials or whatever, and all of that was being leaked out by the DOJ to many people around the media. Right? Merrick Garland would come out and he'd give his stupid little press conference for 4 minutes, take zero questions before he hightailed it out of there, and then leaks a bunch of stuff to the media. He doesn't say anything about nuclear codes or nuclear anything. Where did that come from? The DOJ. They know what it is. And so they just selectively leak stuff that serves their narrative. And so if this really is a national security crisis, if there really is urgency, if Donald Trump really was negligent in keeping this stuff in boxes in Melania's closet somewhere, why did it take them 2 years after they took over power to go and wrap this up? Right? They sent a subpoena. Why didn't they try to enforce the subpoena? Why did they go raid the residence? If it was so dangerous, right, why was there not urgency? Or I thought there was urgency, right? That's kind of what they told us. But now maybe there wasn't actually that much urgency at all, because Merrick Garland apparently weighed on this thing for weeks. Look at this. The search raid, it took weeks for him to analyze. Attorney General took his signature deliberative approach, which just means you're slow. You see how they did that? Signature deliberative approach. It means slow. To move, Justice Department asked the judge not to unseal the affidavit. Oh gosh, I think I'm a member here. Let me just sign in on this thing. I thought I had done this already. I forgot. I am on a different browser over here. So we're going to log in and read the article here in a quick second. There it is. We're back. All right. So it says, now, Attorney General Merrick Garland deliberated for weeks over whether to approve the application for a warrant. For weeks. For weeks. So if this was so catastrophic, what was he waiting on? This comes from people familiar with the matter. They say this is a sign of his cautious approach and that it's going to be tested over the coming months. Now, there was a great article by Julie Kelly over at American Greatness Today, and she says in that article that maybe Merrick Garland's not the real person in charge here. Maybe it's Lisa Monaco, and that's something that I've really suggested here at length. I don't know that he's the one who is going to be tested over the coming months. I think this whole thing has been mostly gamed out at this point, and it's other people who are executing it. Merrick Garland's just that sort of, he's the nice front boy. The decision has been the subject of weeks of meetings between senior Justice Department and FBI officials, the People said. The warrant allowed agents on last Monday, to seize classified information and other materials. Garland now faces a more momentous decision that will further sharpen an already unprecedented and politically fraught situation. Whether to pursue charges against Mr. Trump or any of his allies over their handling of the records at issue and their interactions with the Justice Department officials seeking to retain them and retrieve them. Right, so this might be where they're going for, sort of obstruction, right? An obstruction charge, because he is not giving them the documents back, or they demanded the documents back via subpoena. He didn't do that. He's obstructing the formal operations of government. A decision to bring the charges in the matter against Mr. Trump or his allies would thrust the Justice Department deeper into political environment in which the former president and Republican lawmakers are already accusing them of overreach. Department on Monday asked the judge not to release the search warrant, saying that it's critically important about our investigation. And if disclosed, it's going to cause all sorts of problems. Workers recently, apparently, this is what the FBI building looks like. So they've got some metal barricades around. I guess that's their security fencing, I guess. New security fencing went up around the FBI. Wow. So this fencing here looks pretty good. There's some barbed wire on top of that. This looks like you might be able to just fall over it. You know, if you just kind of run into it fast, you don't even have to jump. You'll probably just fall over the other side, you know. But that's the FBI for you. So Republicans and other people at the House are, here it is. Justice Department officials have defended the Mar-a-Lago search. People familiar with their approach have said the primary goal was to ensure security of highly sensitive national security documents after Trump didn't relinquish them. The decision whether to pursue the criminal charges promises to be a defining one for Merrick Garland, former prosecutor, staffers since the late 1970s at the Justice Department. He's a lifer. He helped codify changes intended to restore trust in the institution. Well, that's not working out so well for him. Very interesting. You know, the guy who's sort of been a lifetime purveyor of the Justice Department might be the single guy responsible for destroying it. And I'm not saying that lightheartedly. You know, if they indict Trump, I mean, half the country is not going to think the DOJ is credible at all, and with good reason, because they're prosecuting their political enemies. So that is the update on the docket. Now, we've got a lot of response from Republicans, and we're going to continue to follow this, and I hope you subscribe and join us as we do. Republicans, meanwhile, are moving on, and so we've got two segments here where they're demanding answers and responses to all of this. We've got Representative Jim Jordan and Grassley. We're going to start here with Jim Jordan. And, of course, we've got, I forgot to swip that over here, but here's the first one, Jim Jordan, and then Senator Grassley. So we'll start with Jim Jordan's letter because it's a little bit shorter, and Chuck Grassley's is quite hefty. And so we'll sort of fly through that one. But Republicans and Representative Jim Jordan are now demanding that the Department of Justice and Attorney General Merrick Garland, seen here, you remember him from last week when he came out and gave a little speech about why he invaded Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. And now the Republicans are demanding answers. And so what they have sent over is what's called a preservation letter. And we're going to take a look at that. It's not all that long, but it's signed off on by a number of Republicans who are all a part of an oversight committee that are demanding answers. And one of the purposes of a preservation letter is to just go on record and say, hey, don't you even think about deleting those documents. You know, in government, it's less of, I think, a requirement because they are typically ordered to preserve their documents, right? I mean, this is sort of what Hillary Clinton got in trouble for. But the Republicans are demanding that they preserve these things because, let's say, for example, you're at a bar in an Old Town restaurant, you get into a fight. Well, they probably have a surveillance policy where they're deleting their surveillance footage every 48 hours or every week or whatever. So as a defense lawyer, you send in a letter demanding they preserve that footage so that you can get it 6 months later down the road or a month later after you get a subpoena for a judge, right? So they're saying, don't delete anything. Don't touch anything. If you even think about taking a cloth and wiping off your hard drives, think again, buddy boy. So that letter went out over to Merrick Garland. We are going to read it. But first, let's check in with Jim Jordan and see what he had to say, because he was on with Laura Ingraham. And, you know, he's very angry about this, rightfully so. And he is going to explain what this letter is about and really what his sort of interpretation of the entire raid is really boiling down to. Here's Jim Jordan on Laura Ingraham.
Well, we want them to preserve all documents. We sent a letter today signed by every Republican member of the committee. We want them to preserve all the information so we can some point see this and know exactly what took place here. But I think you're right. The right term is the pattern. Here's the interesting pattern, Laura. You mentioned the Mueller investigation. Go back to 2019, July of 2019. Bob Mueller testifies in front of our committee, falls flat. Everyone realizes this Russia thing was a complete hoax. What happens the very next day? That's when they launched their impeachment probe of President Trump, because that's when he had the phone call with President Zelensky. Same thing is happening now. The January 6th committee is falling flat. I think tomorrow the voters in Wyoming are going to send a message. It'll be a referendum on that committee. And what do? So they see that happening. They go raid the president's home. So this is the pattern. These guys are never going to turn down the heat. They should. It's bad for the country. but they're never going to because they've been doing it for 6 years, before he was in office, while he was in office, now that he's out of office. So that is the pattern, and that's what the American people are so fed up with.
Right, and they're almost in a position now where they have to do something about it, right? The Democrats have sort of backed themselves into a corner. One idea that we toyed around with was that maybe an off-ramp, a nice peaceful off-ramp for the DOJ so that things don't continue to escalate, would be to come out and to do the same thing that they did with Hillary Clinton, right? To come out, you bring James Comey out, or you bring FBI Director Christopher Wray out, you bring Merrick Garland out, and you do the same thing. You do the same litany that they did, right? You call it the Hillary Clinton rule, the FBI rule. If you delete emails or you do something with bad confidential rules or whatever, you don't get prosecuted because it would wreck the country to do that. Well, should they apply the Hillary Clinton rule to Donald Trump? I don't know. Maybe they could do that, right? And that would be an off-ramp. They would say, look how nice we are. We're not going to prosecute our mortal enemy. But their own base would lose it. They wouldn't allow that to happen. And so I think that they are basically without an off-ramp. They have no real ability to do much other than to indict him and to prosecute him and to keep this train on the tracks. And it sounds like that's where this is going. Republicans demand answers. As we know, Jim Jordan was on with Laura Ingraham and he was communicating. They sent a letter. This is the letter sent out from the House of Representatives, the Judiciary Committee, drafted on August 15, 2022, ranking member Jim Jordan, along with, look at this fella up here, Jerry Nadler, the 35-pound waddling diaper that inhabits Congress. This letter goes over to the Honorable Merrick Garland, U.S. Attorney General. It says, Dear Garland, this is written by, of course, Jim Jordan. And look at all these Republicans. So before we read it, look at all these Republicans who signed off on it, a lot of them. Jim Jordan's here, Steve Chabot, Louis Gohmert, shout out Darrell Issa. We've got Matt Gaetz is in the house, Mike Johnson, Tom McClintock, Andy Biggs from Arizona. We've got Greg Stube, Tiffany, Chip Roy's in the house, Scott Fitzgerald, Cliff Bentz, and others, and they copied the Waddler. So as you can see, it's a pretty short letter. So let's read through it. And this is the preservation letter from the DOJ, or to the DOJ. It says, Dear DOJ Garland, the FBI's unprecedented raid of Trump's residence is a shocking escalation of the Biden administration's weaponization of law enforcement resources against its political opponents. The American people deserve transparency and accountability from our most senior law enforcement officials within the executive branch. That's you. We will settle for nothing but your complete cooperation with our inquiry. That's some fiery meatball language there. We will settle for nothing. We'll see. Under your tenure, the Justice Department continues to shatter public confidence in the equal application of justice. The department has filed politically motivated lawsuits against Republican-led states on policies disfavored by Biden, artificially inflated domestic violent extremism statistics to advance Biden's political narrative, which we have covered ad nauseum here. They've used counterterrorism resources to target parents at school boards, and they're opposed to policies that were opposed to policies from the Biden people. And they selectively prosecuted and they investigated political opponents of Biden. These actions not only undermine the stated mission of the department, they violate the most fundamental tenets of our country. And so Jordan and the Republicans, they write, the American people deserve answers for the Biden administration's continued misuse of law enforcement resources. Accordingly, we're demanding now from the House Judiciary Committee, we hereby demand that you please produce the following material. Number one, all documents and communications referring or relating to the execution of a search warrant on Trump's residence. That's big. That's a lot. That's like a lot. That's everything. All documents and communications, everything you've got. All documents and communications relating to the decision to seek a search warrant. All documents referring to the use of confidential human sources. Ooh, the moles. The moles in Mar-a-Lago. They want to know who they are. All documents and communications between the DOJ, the FBI, and the Executive Office of the President. Okay, so connecting the dots. You've got the FBI, you've got the DOJ, which is going to be sort of on top of the FBI, and then you've got Joe Biden on top, right? He is the president. And so they're saying they send this letter to him, to the DOJ, to Merrick Garland, and they say, we want to know about your conversations with old Joe and your conversations with the old FBI. So send them all over to us. all documents and communications between the DOJ, FBI, and the Secret Service. So now you can add the Secret Service into this list. So add the Secret Service over here. We're going to add them to the diagram. And all documents and communications between the DOJ, the National Archives as well. So we'll add Norah on there as well. All right, so Norah can go over here. So we've got Joe, the DOJ, the Secret Service, and the FBI, 5 different entities that they want communications about. And they say, please provide this material as soon as possible, no later than August 29th, 13 days from now. In addition, please preserve all responsive documents in your possession or custody. Do not delete anything. You should construe this communication as an instruction to preserve all documents, including electronic information and metadata that may be potentially responsive to this inquiry. This instruction includes all electronic messages, anything on official or personal accounts, including records creating using text messages, phone-based message applications, or encryption software. So don't you dare delete anything. All right, we're coming for you hot. And we've prognosticated this for a long time now. The J6 committee, going to be a lot of fun when it's in other hands, isn't it? For purposes of this request, preserve means take reasonable steps to prevent the partial or full destruction. Don't drop your phone in the toilet. Okay, testing, deletion, shredding, incineration, or any of this stuff. No negligence, no reckless handling that could render any of this stuff problematic. Preserve all compilations of documents that have already been gathered and anything that involves litigation requests. The Committee on the Judiciary has jurisdiction to oversee the activities of the DOJ and the FBI pursuant to Rule 10 of the House. So we have authority to come after you, boys and girls, and we're doing it. And you see it in this letter. So preserve all your stuff because we're coming in hot. Now, to show you what I mean by coming in hot, we are not done because that is only coming out of the House of Representatives. We talked previously about Senator Chuck Grassley, who's over from Iowa. He is this gentleman down here, and he is also demanding that there is accountability. And so we've got sort of 2 angles of this thing. We've got the House of Representatives also joined by the senators. That's 2 houses. And we'll see what Chuck Grassley has to say. Here he is saying the public demands transparency, and he's absolutely right. Here he is.
Garland goes on television because he wants to be transparent. Full transparency is going to be when they release the affidavit. And this is such a high profile and very strange way of going about getting documents from a former president, that the affidavit is going to be absolutely necessary if we're going to have full transparency. And this demands full transparency because without transparency, government is not accountable.
That's right.
The public's business must always be public.
That's right. This is the public's business. The public has a right to know what is happening with the former president, Donald Trump. If he is indicted or if he's under investigation, we have a right to know about that. And so this standard line that, well, it's a formal investigation. Yeah, it's not the same, right? This isn't crackhead Hunter Biden. This is Donald Trump, and it is President Biden's #1 political enemy. And they just told us he's running again. So seems like there is some nefariousness indeed. Now, the letter that went out from Chuck Grassley to the FBI is quite a hefty one. We are going to take a look at it. But I just wanted to share and sort of, back up on this. Grassley sends a letter to the FBI, and we've got another letter from Jim Jordan that's sent over to the DOJ. So they're going after both sort of tentacles of this entire ordeal. So let's take a look at the letter from Chuck Grassley. As I mentioned, it is quite a long one, and it was sent over August 11th. It says here, questions for the record from ranking member Chuck Grassley over to Director Christopher Wray. And there was something interesting that took place. If you remember, the FBI, they basically think that they run the country. And in fact, they very well may, don't know. But they were in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. One of those members was Chuck Grassley. Christopher Wray was sitting there. And they took a break. And Christopher Wray, went to the bathroom or called his, wife or whatever, and came back in and sat down. And they said, we've got more questions for you. And Christopher Wray raised his hand and he said, no, what are you talking about? More questions. He said, do you know who I am? I'm the FBI director. It's Friday. I've got someplace to be. And they said, well, we thought you were here to testify in front of the Senate. Like, we convened the entire, a whole group of senators, like a whole group of us here for you. You have to leave? And he said, yeah, I've got a plane to catch. And Dick Durbin was like, yeah, okay, sounds good. You got to go. Thanks for being here. We're glad we got you for a little bit of time. But Chuck Grassley had a follow-up question to that. He says, all right, Director Wray, please answer these questions and provide the records no later than August 25th. First of all, says Chuck Grassley, he says, the hearing that you were supposed to be at was supposed to be one round of 7 minutes and a second round of 3 minutes. You left early and you did not complete a second round of questioning. News reports indicate that you took your government plane to Adirondacks. Is that true? And if so, why couldn't you have stayed for a second round of questions to complete the hearing? So he says, why'd you get on that airplane, your government plane to Adirondacks? And I don't even know where that place is, but this individual does. And her name is Miranda Devine, and she does some amazing work over at the NY Post. And so I want to open this up here. And this is the article that she drafted talking about Adir Rocks. And apparently, that's where Christopher Wray just got out of town to go visit with his family. He says, was he taking a long weekend in Adirondacks, where his family has a summer home, right after he got out of there? Because he's the FBI director. He just does what he wants, apparently. So that was one question that we got from Chuck Grassley. But there, of course, are many others. And as you can see in this list, they say, on August 8th, the FBI raided former President Trump's home, his Mar-a-Lago residence, and reports indicate the raid related to classified information stored there. DOJ and the FBI failed to provide Congress and the American people with any transparency about this matter. The reporting thus far draws contrast, right, talking about the Clinton rule, from how the DOJ and the FBI treated Secretary Clinton's mishandling of highly classified info. For example, even though Secretary Clinton and her attorneys did not hand over classified records in their possession for many months, they were not subject to a raid similar to what occurred at Mar-a-Lago. Right? Same type of thing. Context, October 5, 2016, I wrote to Attorney General Lynch about Secretary Clinton. This senator has been around for a long time. He says, I sent a letter before Trump was even president. The election hadn't even occurred yet. I said that Clinton and her staff got kid gloves treatment related to her mishandling of highly classified info. It was very important. 91 valid security violations committed by 38 individuals, some of whom deliberately transmitted classified information via an unsecured server. Footnote 2. He sent the letter back then, and you can read it on his website if you want to. He links the footnote right there. Here's the link. I sent it previously. There were an additional 497 violations that occurred, but culpability could not be established. That was the James Comey song that we listened to yesterday. James Comey came out, and all these violations, but no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute Hillary. And so we're not going to recommend any prosecution take place. In October 15th, they talked about the Wilkinson letters, incorporated by reference. Letters set out the precise manner in which the department and the FBI would access and use federal records from Clinton. In his statements before Congress, Comey repeatedly assured Congress FBI investigated whether charges of obstruction and intentional destruction were merited, right? They went in there and they said, should we charge Hillary for obstruction? Nah. How about intentional destruction? Nah, because of the Benghazi saga. As we now know, the FBI pulled its punches before, and Director Comey drafted an exoneration statement for Clinton before even interviewing her and 16 other relevant witnesses. So Grassley is saying, look, the FBI failed to investigate the destruction of federal records and all sorts of materials from Clinton. And we also have the saga with Loretta Lynch and many others. Clinton had 4 email addresses during her tenure, many of which were altered, many conference calls that took place, and deletion of those records. And so based on all of these news reports, he's got questions for the director. He says, were you aware of the pending raid of Mar-a-Lago when you sat before this committee? You were in front of our Judiciary Committee, and you didn't answer any of these questions. You didn't tell us about this raid. When did you approve the raid? Because you were just there back in August, early August. And when did Attorney General Garland, when did you people know about this? What was the predication for the raid? I want the predicating records. I want the search warrant and the affidavit. Give them over to us. What is the scope of the investigation of the predicated raid? Federal records, classification issues? Please explain. Did you discuss the search warrant with anyone at the White House, like Joe Biden? If so, what was discussed? And did any member of the White House staff or any other executive official or agent direct you in any way to pursue and execute the search warrant? And if so, who? Did you talk about this with Garland? Did you talk about this with anybody else at the DOJ? Did the FBI use a team to determine what records are within the scope and outside of the scope? And there were 91 security violations for Hillary. What did you do with those? What was your process for analyzing all of that? Right. And so this list goes on and on and on. Now, just look, right? We were just getting started. That's page 5. So if you want to read the rest of this, I'd encourage you to go over to Grassley's website and check it out. But essentially, right, he's drawing, comparing and contrasting situations between what's happening with Trump and what's happened with other Democrats, essentially. Here's another compare and contrast with Hunter Biden. And a lot of people are making the point that this is a lot of whataboutism. You know, this is a lot of, well, you say Trump did this, but Hillary did that, and so on. And yet that's the point, right? This is justice. This is equal protection of the law, due process, supposed to treat similar situations similarly. And there's just been a whole list of, as Chuck Grassley is detailing for us, distinctions between prosecutions. Here, Senator Johnson and I have asked U.S. Attorney Weiss whether he thinks certain bank records relating to potential Biden family misconduct is problematic. Mr. Weiss has refused to answer. Okay, Hunter Biden's potential criminal conduct could be problematic for the United States, could be a national security problem, but not a lot of answers on any of that. So they're also demanding Hunter Biden records, James Biden records, memos on the national, from the Director of National Intelligence, and the list goes on and on. So we'll fast forward to the bottom here. You can see it still goes on. And he concludes, he says, I want all of these answered and answered quickly by the end of the month, signed off on by Ranking Member Chuck Grassley, Committee on the Judiciary. And the Republicans are demanding answers. And we'll see if there are responses, if Director Wray is answering any of those questions. And we'll continue to follow. I hope you join us on that journey. And don't forget to subscribe before you get out of here. All right, my friends. And we've got a couple other segments before we check in and see how Liz Cheney is doing. Because the polls are, I don't know what time they close in Wyoming, but they must be pretty close to it. We've got Viva coming up. I've got a clip of Viva. He's not scheduled to come on the show, but he's part of the media smears that are taking place. And so we've got to now dig into it. And this woman, her name is Norah O'Donnell, and I forgot where she's at. We're going to figure this out. Well, we'll get into it. The media continues to lie and smear all about the Donald Trump Mar-a-Lago invasion. We're going to start with Norah O'Donnell. Norah O'Donnell is somebody who is in the media, and she said that yesterday, after Donald Trump posted on True Social that they had stolen his passports, she came out hot on Twitter, and she said, that's not true at all. She wrote this. She says, new. According to a DOJ official, the FBI is not in possession of the former President Trump's passports. Trump had accused the FBI of stealing his 3 passports during a raid of his Mar-a-Lago home. She doesn't say raid. She says search. I said raid. Now, she's a blue check mark, and I think she's over at CBS or something like that. It really doesn't matter. They're all fungible, really. Something interesting that I did see that showed up today on Twitter. Look at this. Readers added context they thought you might want to know, right? This was kind of a fact check. A representative from another network. So this is like that. This is one of those boxes, right? That sort of says you're a liar. This is a you're a liar box, except they didn't call her a liar. It says readers added context that thought people might want to know. A representative from another network tweeted the correct information, demonstrating that passports were taken and then subsequently returned. Okay. Well, that's interesting because I didn't see that originally. And if you notice down here at the bottom, this got almost, it's over 3,000 retweets, 10,000 retweets, 3,000 quote retweets, and 40,000 likes. So Norah O'Donnell from CBS comes out and says Donald Trump's a liar. They never took his passports. And it gets 13,000 retweets, 41,000 likes, and probably counting. Well, it turns out, my friends, it's not true at all, actually. And so I don't know where she got her data. But if you go over to Trump's Twitter team, you got this guy, Taylor Budowich. He says, this is how the fake news works, my friends. Biden administration actively feeds half-truths and lies that the media willingly amplifies, advancing a partisan narrative to attack Trump. Says, hey, take a look at this. Says, Norah, did your source read you this email? Did you bother asking if they indeed seized the passports? So what email is he talking about? We actually posted this like directly on Twitter. Let's take a look at it. Here it is. And this is the gentleman who posted this. Here it is. It is, let me get rid of myself. It says, from Brat J, the NSD, from date August 15th, 10:49 a.m. It says, Evan Jim, subject passports. It says here, Jim, we have learned that the filter agents seized 3 passports belonging to President Trump. What? It says 2 expired, belonging to President Trump. 2 expired, and 1 being his active diplomatic passport. We are returning them, and they will be ready for pickup at WFO at 2 p.m. today. I am traveling, but you can coordinate further with blank copied above. Thanks. Signed on by Jay. And you, okay. So what the heck was Norah O'Donnell talking about? The FBI just sent a letter. The DOJ, we got your passports here. So I think that's just a lie. I don't really know how else to frame it. I mean, I think she's just dishonest about what actually took place there. And she did it intentionally, right? Because that's what these people do. They publish stuff and they know it's going to get retweeted. They know it's going to get published. They know it's going to get picked up, and they're going to smear a bunch of people in the meantime. Speaking of that, our good friend Viva is somebody who also got smeared by this guy named Will Carless, who is quite careless. And he actually wrote an article that looked something like this. And this is what he posted on Twitter. And I don't think it's actually going to let us take a look at the article, which is fine. I'm not going to, give him additional money. Here, let me show you this. It says, Will Carless posted this. It says, kill FBI on site, right? That's the title of the article. It says, True Social reveals the final days of the Cincinnati shooters ordeal, right? And so he wrote this article on August 3rd, 7:18 p.m. And if you click through to the article, let's see if this works for us. Probably will not. Let's see. Yeah. The original article that was written here, they put a paywall up on it, and I was going to subscribe and buy it so I could go read it, but I'm not going to do that, right? They don't need any more money from us. I read it over the weekend. I was texting with Viva, and she sent me a link to it, and I read it, and I said, these sons of bees. I looked at it, and in the article itself, it said something like, this individual, the guy who went and did the attack, right, the kill on site guy, the Ricky Schiffer account on the former president's social media was active for 9 days, but by the end of it, Ricky Schiffer was dead. And so what the article references is a post on True Social by the Ricky fella, who was the person who went into the Cincinnati building. And one of his True Social posts, apparently, it has now been deleted from True Social. I went and checked the original post. They deleted his whole account and all of the posts. But in one of the posts, he says Viva's name in it. He says something like, Viva said that there's going to be people marching down to the FBI building. All right. And what this journalist did is he used Viva's name. He said, Viva Frei on YouTube was referenced by this shooter named Ricky. And published that article, didn't reach out to Viva for clarification, didn't say Viva on his channel was somebody who has always spoken out against violence, who has been, unequivocal on that throughout his entire career. One of the most, sort of peaceful people out there. And they're sort of making this guilt by association, this implication that because this maniac mentioned Viva's name, that Viva is somehow, a part of this group of insurrectionists, right? It was really offensive. And he sent it to me and I read it and I almost jumped out. I was outraged. And so what Viva did is he actually sent an email over to him. He said, we were conversating about this, and I went on Truth. I said, yeah, it's a real post, and they deleted it, and ridiculous. So Viva goes and he posts this. He says, look, Will, He says, I sent you an email earlier today, Will, careless. Your most recent article in US Today doesn't mention me because you got the hint, but your original one did, and it has been republished by no less than 5 other news outlets. I presume you value the truth and expect to see a correction or a clarification shortly for smearing me. And what they do, right, what they do in these articles is they write one article and then they just wait for the articles to get picked up by other articles. So you may have seen this, right? Like an article will come out from the New York Times and then you find it on MSNBC, don't you? You find it on Yahoo News, don't you? Right? They sort of gyp the original article and it drops up on a bunch of other websites. And they do this purposefully. Sometimes they'll write an article with a fake headline, like Business Insider does this all the time. Business Insider writes headlines that are very juicy. And sometimes they're not actually true, and then they'll sort of pick up on those articles in other stories. And they'll say, do you see what Business Insider said? And so one article or one agency will sort of anchor in the fake news, and all of the other entities will then copy and paste the journalism. I call it copy and paste journalism. Not a lot of original thinking, just a bunch of people reading through. Well, they read through what we read through, and they just, like, one person will write an article, and it'll show up on 35 different websites. Right? Or they'll just copy and paste the different pieces and reassemble it. So same thing happened here, right? This loser writes an article and sort of is referencing Viva, saying that he's guilty by association. That article gets picked up all over the place, the Bharat Express News, World Wire, and so on. And then he blocked Viva. Will, right? That's why I can't see this tweet, because he's blocked Viva. And he hasn't blocked me yet, but maybe after this video he will. But Viva has never done anything like that. He's never made those points at all. And so actually Viva, I think, actually put these clips together. I think these were Viva's clips that he posted on his Twitter account, right? This is what he said. He says, got a response from Will Careless. In his view, his reporting was accurate. Okay, maybe the post was accurate, but your implication that Viva is guilty by association because that maniac mentioned his name was totally inappropriate. And you knew what you were doing. So Viva says, got a response from Will. In his view, his reporting was accurate. When he reported that the alleged attacker said, Viva Frei said patriots are heading to Palm Beach. And what I actually said is this video. So Viva Frei said patriots are heading to Palm Beach. What I actually said is this video. He's good to publish. No need to contact me for comment. Just publish this video. This is what Viva said.
Yeah, apparently people were heading down to Mar-a-Lago to show their support. I don't know if it was protest. I'm an idiot. I swiped myself out of the stream. Yeah, apparently people are going down. I would just be very careful.
Yeah.
You go down in that vicinity. Call me a coward. Call me whatever would be the name.
I won't
You go
do
down
that.
in that vicinity and you see what
You're
what
brave
they're doing
man.
to anybody who is within the vicinity of the Capitol Hill on January 6th. Past is prologue, people.
I don't think you're a coward, Viva. I think you're a very brave man and a nice fella too. And I don't think you're a violent person at all. And right, this is sort of Viva.
For civil war, nor will there be any sinister predictions of civil war on this channel. Now, some media outlets are running with this narrative that conservatives are pushing for war. CNN running with the headline. No, it was Fox News running with the headline that FBI agents are fearing for their security. I will never promote violence on my channel, and some people don't like that. Never. I saw one.
Never, right? We don't condone any violence here at all. But a lot of people really, really want that to be the case. They really want to see, some sort of violence, and they want to smear good people like Viva, who's reporting on the facts and who's reporting on the truth. And they're trying to make, LawTube or people who are, getting more clicks and more views than they are, guilty by association. And so that is what the disgusting media is doing in relation to the Trump Mar-a-Lago saga. And so shout out to Viva. He's our friend right next door on Locals. He's at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. He's right next door on YouTube too. So make sure you go follow him and give him some love, because all of your independent creators need it in a time like this when everybody is sort of trying to create a narrative and smash other people who don't comport with their fiction. So shout out to Viva and the rest of the Trump team smacking down these smears. We'll continue to follow. All right, and now we've got one final check-in before we jump into your questions and your comments and your super chats, we got to check in with Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney's going away party. It might be happening right now as we speak. Let's take a look over at CNN and see what the Wyoming polls have for us. I have not taken a look at this, obviously, since we started the show, but here we are. Have polls closed at all? This looks like it's not going to give us much information here. Yeah, here's a couple updates on Liz Cheney. Cheney is the only Trump critic facing voters today. Sarah Palin is going to be making a comeback in Alaska. Maybe we'll see. Here, tonight's primary is a crucial test for Cheney. Here's a look back at key moments of her career. Nobody cares. Let's see what else we have. Your handy guide to tonight's primary. 9 p.m. Eastern time. The polls close in Wyoming. So that would mean that's it. Oh, so we have like an hour until the polls close. So we're not even close. Let's see what PBS has for us. We might just jump into your questions right now. They have anything coming for us at all? No. Polls are still open, so they don't have anything even being counted yet. So, all right, well, we don't have any Liz Cheney updates, which means it's time to hear from you, my friends. And so we're going to jump into your questions and your comments over from our member community at watchingthewatchers.locals.com and see what you have to say about all this and more. And so we're going to start the day off with Jason on Blast from California. He says, terrible Tuesday. Since Biden signed the Democrats' spending nightmare guaranteed to greatly worsen inflation, not make it better, Democrat politician and rhinos call bills exactly the opposite of their actual effect to fool the people. It's true. Yeah, it's like the Patriot Act was sort of the least patriotic thing you can think of. Bongino talked through the whole thing today. He says he thinks, as many do, they found nothing. They're leaning on the media to make it appear as if there's something there, from Kenny Cole. It's probably true, right? There's probably nothing there. What is Trump going to have? Former LEO says, since the DOJ, I'll come back to that one. It's long comments. I'm going to have to. All right, I'll read. All right, let's go over to the super chats because we've got several long comments here, and I have to sort of prepare myself for the long comments. So the super chats will come over here. Bear Ashby says, Trump hasn't done anything wrong. He stood for America, and the people and America was better for it, and I'm sick of the attacks on him and his family. That's from Bear Ashby. Yeah, well, they're just going to continue to come. This is going to continue to heat up. Todd Larson says, have to show love to one of 3 lawyers Robert Barnes said he would hire to represent him. Have to show love to one of 3 lawyers Robert Barnes said he would hire to represent him. Who's he talking about? He's not talking about me? Well, that's a nice compliment. That is a tremendous compliment. If I don't want to be presumptuous on that, but I don't know. Do we talk about other lawyers here? Maybe you're talking about Trump's lawyers. Probably that. Jonathan Manson says, do you agree that the warrant lacked particularity and so is invalid? Well, so we can't tell. I mean, the particular. So let me finish your comment before I get ahead of myself here. Usually one of these is listed: drugs, weapons, money, merchandise. Person's affidavit cannot make up for the lack of particularity. Yeah, but we're talking about national security documents, right? So that is the particularity, right? Substitute confidential papers with drugs. That's what we're talking about. Good question, Jonathan. Barry Ashby says, anyone thinks this raid doesn't matter, them 87,000 IRS agents are coming for you next. How are you going to feel with gunmen raiding down your home? Not good. Yeah, they're not. Look, they don't need 87,000 IRS agents to go after billionaires, right? They just need a handful of them. They need them to come after you and me, which they will. James Jarvis says, I am definitely not FBI gathering info on you, LOL. Well, thank you, James. Yeah, that's good. FBI is definitely not in the chat. Definitely not. Tara Reinhart says, original report that the informant gave info on June 22nd. That very day, the judge recused himself from Trump's civil Russiagate case. Is then assigned to this raid. Also, Tracy Beans pointed out a second sealed docket. Much love from Canada. Wow, okay. So that's interesting. So that's some new details that I did not know about. Thank you, Tara. Same day that he recused from Trump versus Clinton and a second sealed docket? I can only handle so much. Tara, stop. Here, Marie Elena Rivera became a member. Welcome, Marie. Going to get those morning walk and talks. We have Tracy C.A. Seismograph says the DOJ speaks through its filings, but we refuse to let you see our speech because reasons. Yeah. Right, they're really open, and they're playing this game of chicken with Trump. Like, we'll show our cards. If you show yours, Trump says, show it all. And they're like, shoot. How about no? because national security. Tara says, happy swamp creature eviction day. Na, 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 na. Hey, 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 goodbye. You all sang it in your head, I bet. I just sang it out loud. Bear Ashby says, I don't believe in volunteering my forefather. Oh, gosh. And we have now, we have a couple comments. Let's go back to the long ones. Former LEO says, since the DOJ waited until the midterms, would that force an hour unsealing? Or could they have waited until after the midterms? I think they could have waited. Since this is the urgency portion of this. Since the DOJ and the FBI allege the information contained in the search warrant is top secrets and could end the world, it makes sense that the federal court employees would have the custodians and bring down the affidavit there with top secret clearance. It appears the government owns the ball. They demand that you play with their ball, or if you want to play. Who would be the ultimate authority to have to review the process from start to finish? These private surveillance videos that are owned by the suspect, and the suspect is a former POTUS Trump, are they able to be withheld from the prosecution? Those videos are outside the scope of the warrant and actually originated after the search warrant was served. It would be nice to serve up a turd burger to Garland at trial by withholding them, but I have a belief the defense isn't required to disclose their defense strategy, as in damn you, Perry Mason. That's from former LEO. Thank you, former LEO. Yeah, I don't know. Eric Trump came out and said that they were going to be releasing that video at some point when the time is right, I think is what he said. It's Jake from Oxford says, happy Liz Cheney's day, the greatest, most patriotic Republican ever born. She is so great that both Republicans and Democrats are voting for her. We'll see. I know your peasant followers are slow, especially Vienticus. So I have included some facts about Liz so that they will not be upset over her impending decimation of Hageman. 1, there is prophecy that Liz is the chosen one. That will bring about peace and balance to the force. I mean, politics. 2, when Liz was 14, a bald eagle named Patriot landed on her shoulder. She sued the bird for defamation of character. She was born in July 1966. The KKK was created August 1966. Wait, forget that one. Liz wrote the Pledge of Allegiance. Her nickname in high school was the Olay Oak. No context needed. She once filibustered for 96 hours straight with nothing but a water bottle and a diaper. Legend has it the same diaper was passed on to Nadler. Oh, God, that's Jake Sullivan from Oxford. And he's a big Liz Cheney fan, so he's probably very excited. Oh, here's another one from It's Jake. Oh, gosh, we have a Melania panties have been posted on the FBI eBay account. For $9.99 plus $4.50 shipping. Melania, the FBI is already posting stuff on eBay. That's not appropriate at all. Miguel says, at midnight, the legitimate V are going to be counted and everyone else is going to sleep. We're going to leave that one alone. Miss Lucky says, Sergeant Bob just finished The Art of the Deal by Trump. Very smart man. Very smart. Who did a lot for New York City. Knew how the city politics works. Gives one a lot of understanding of how he thinks. No wonder he saw all the bad trade deals and corrected that. Robute says, remember Bruce Reinhart is corrupt political hack who worked as a prosecutor at Special Info on Epstein. Once Bruce had info on Epstein, then he quit his day job, started to defend Epstein, obviously a blatant conflict. After defending Epstein and doing the deep state's bidding, he became a judge. That judge is a Stasi judge. That's from Robute. Another one says, deep state's, quote, national security concerns means corruption and not wanting to be exposed. Sergeant Bob says, of course the USA Secret Police want to keep the affidavit secret. There are some sources that say that some FBI agents are coming forward as whistleblowers. Yeah, and even Jim Jordan said that. We need to remember that there are some good feds. The FBI has a history of going back through the Hoover days, that any agents blowing the whistle are punished via reassignments. So one day you are the agent in charge of the Chicago. Next day, you're a road agent in Bemidji, Minnesota. Very bad without civil service protection. Unless that has all changed, but I doubt it. From Sergeant Bob, TOS Forever says, I have my own opinion. Perceive this. There are those who say confession by projection. My thoughts, and I'm asking if you agree, these boxes have all the criminal documents that Pres Trump wants to reveal to the world about them. And they want to debate and destroy the documents or tell him you can put this out and you can't put that out. In other words, he's got dirt on them. Wrote, he wanted all those documents open to America and declare them declassified. He keeps saying we as Americans are going to be happy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's in there. And I think that this is, they may have been hoping that there was something useful in there that would give them a pretext, right? I think this is pretextual. Okay, so an example of what is pretextual is Cops will oftentimes, they'll hang outside of bars and they'll pull people over for DUI. Now, cops will say, we never do that. No, we don't do that. They do it, okay? They say they don't do it. They do it. They, in Arizona, after we had medical marijuana passed a long time ago, they used to hang outside of dispensaries all the time. We saw it all the time. And they would make up bases for stopping somebody. It's a pretextual basis. They would say that you made a wide right turn coming out of the parking lot. Oh, you stopped your car in the crosswalk, which is illegal, right? And they go, oh, we have to pull, oh, your license plate's lights is out. Pull you over. They make up, bloodshot, watery eyes or an odor of an intoxicant or whatever. And then they just make their arrest. It's all fake in order to gain evidence of further criminality. Problem is, sometimes there is no further evidence of criminality. And what do you do then? You're already bought in. In a regular person's case, there's no recourse. People get, charged with DUIs that have 0.0s in their blood all the time. And the government just, oh, well, sorry about that. Not going to happen in this case. Merrick Garland, they're in too deep. Sergeant Bob says, it does seem that the FBI senior management are direct descendants of Hoover, thus the same corrupted DNA, kind of like wolves masquerading as sheep. Thunder 7 says, Rob, assume that there is justice in America. Play along here. Okay. What would the charge be against Garland, who signed off on a warrant knowing full well there was no probable cause that was ordered by Biden to try to damage Trump? In a just world, would a sentence involve a prison term? It's great that MTG drew up articles of impeachment, but what about time in prison? I want to see him in handcuffs and leg irons. He deserves that. Falsification or misrepresentation or fraudulent misrepresentations, all sorts of things that, could be, but it never happens. Keep dreaming, Thunder 7. Honestly, I mean it. It's never going to happen. Heather says, poor Rob struggling with pronouncing Adirondacks. Adirondacks. She says it's pronounced Adirondacks. Adirondacks. That makes more sense. The emphasis is on the third syllable. Rep Comer, along with Rep Ellis and Stefanik and Mike Turner, said they were going after Wray on using the private jet for not official business. As if he was using it on the taxpayer's dime, he should pay it back. Let's see what this article says. Yeah, I mean, he drove on his private jet on vacation. Frustrated with a lot of things. Comer demanding answers using a private plane after a recent report that he flew FBI aircraft on a personal vacation. Yeah, we'll get some answers on that one, I'm sure. Thank you for that, Heather, 3 girlies. And shout out to the youngest girly. Hello, I almost forgot. How could I possibly do that? V says, I could care less about Captain Jaundice. I'm just going to point out that these violations of attorney-client privilege and due process are just the next step in something we've been dealing with for decades. A slow crawl towards totalitarianism, and don't be fooled, it's been coming from both parties. Also, I'm going to once again point out that whataboutism is a bogus term to try and conflate juxtaposition with distraction. These two are separate things. It's a good comment, V. Yeah, I mean, it's justice. It's supposed to be equal justice, equal application of the law. TOS Forever says, woo woo, just look at those America work for the truth against the Mockingbird media. News Now Wyoming, long time News Now, where you been? Says, quit trying to hold the media accountable for their lies. We know they don't know how to tell the truth, so a small lie about passports is unimportant. News Now Wyoming is in the house. It's got a lot of activity there in Wyoming. A lot of news happening now. Facts Matter says, spoke with my dad and uncle, retired FBI, in last days. They're disgusted and sad the Bureau has become swamp scum. They both said they both predict the DOJ will slow walk the investigation and any release of the documents if they get their way. Like 2024 slow, or maybe just never and leave the taint on the Trump out there forever. Yeah, I agree with that, right? They could do it. They could indict him. I mean, they've been slow rolling this thing since J6. I mean, honestly, like they've been slow rolling this since 2019. Facts Matter, right? I mean, impeachment 1, impeachment 2, saga goes on and on. Sergeant Bob says, watches may want to look at the performance of the FBI and the Ruby Ridge and at Waco. Would they be that incompetent today? Just saying. Or watchers may want to look at the performance of the FBI. Yeah. Yes, they are that incompetent. They couldn't even secure the congressional building. And there were people saying, we're going to protest there on a date and a time. And the president was speaking and they couldn't secure it. Here we had another one. Heather says, can Viva do a cease and desist letter for defamation? He could, but I mean, he's kind of a public figure, and it's probably not really worth it, to be honest. Yeah. But he could. Miss Lucky and Sergeant Bob say, so the FBI field office was attacked, no damage. What about the Portland, Oregon precincts or the Minneapolis police? Yeah, the 3rd precinct in Minneapolis got burnt to the ground. Remember that? The list goes on and on. FBI are crybabies. I know, they're all special agents, really special, very special agents. Vianticus says, tisk, tisk, tisk. Viva hasn't learned that truth is violence yet. For shame. Yeah. It's from Vianticus. All right, let's do a refresh over here. Bear Ashby says, Rob, that was violence, and my forefathers, yes, is what Bear Ashby says. And let's see, we're scrolling back down, and let's hear. That was from 3 Girlies, Miss Lucky, Vianticus. Miss Lucky says, and Sergeant Bob regarding Cheney. Ding dong, the witch is dead. And I don't know, I mean, that's not about, Cheney specifically. That's about, what did that come from? The Wizard of Oz? Is that right? Wizard of Oz? Yeah. We'll see what happens with Liz. ZW Troll says, Viva is amazing. He did a stream with a mosquito buzzing around him, and he refused to kill it or even attack it. Are you kidding me? He encouraged me to relax when I have flies in my apartment. Oh my gosh. What a peaceful man. It's just amazing. Well, when I do my morning walk and talks, I execute bugs without even hesitation. I mean, you see me, I'm slapping them all over the place. I don't care. I'm a bug violent man. Don't even mess with me. I swear I will. I'm pretty fast too. I'm pretty fast. I can actually get them sometimes. I'm like, sometimes I surprise myself with I killed that son of a thing. How did that happen? So yeah, I swat them left and right. No problem. News Now says, I decided to watch live today to see you talking about my state's glorious representative live instead of the replay. As a nonpartisan, I have no vote today, but it will be a good day. Shout out to News Now. News Now, are you in Wyoming? I mean, you must be there, right? I was just there in Jackson Hole. Lots of news in Wyoming. Hopefully you're doing well covering it all. Miguel says, we should lay off Biden. He has cancer and we should be more supportive of him. Well, I'm not sure if he does. Fact check yourself on that one, Miguel, but no, I don't support him. Thunder7 says, I'm so trusting of anything the fake news and the FBI report that I doubt if the guy Ricky Schiffer is even real. He's probably an FBI asset. Think about it. Right after the illegal raid that diverted attention to this man they call violent, Trump-supporting terrorist, election denier, has ties to J6. Oh, yeah. And he supports Viva, who just happens to operate a show with Barnes. He calls out the Biden tyranny. Little too convenient, especially since he joined TS in August. Miguel says, Putin canceled the pipeline out of the Keystone. Blame him. Heather says, Dallas Cowboy Stadium capacity, 80,000 people. Still not big enough for the 87,000 IRS agents Biden is sending after you. They don't need 87,000 of them for Elon Musk and Bill Gates, right? They don't. Miss Lucky and Sergeant Bob says, we unplugged for the weekend in Indiana with daughter and grandkids. Great weekend, but we're now back in the fold. Sped through the 101 last night and waved to you at about 1 o'clock on the way home. Well, hi, Miss Lucky and Sergeant Bob. Welcome back home. Yeah, Indiana. My business partner's from Indiana. I wonder if you guys are in the same neck of the woods. Tricky says, I also heard something about a second warrant, but I'm not sure about the source, so I can't confirm if that's true. I will definitely look into that. Sergeant Bob says, yeah, okay. I did stops out of bars, lots. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of pressure at that agency for DUI arrest, but I needed to complete my probation. Sorry. P.S. Hoover did a lot and did a lot of home remodels on the government dime. He was a petty thief. Yeah, look, cops do it, man. Cops do it. They get DUIs are big money, tens of thousands of dollars for states, right? They get money from the people who pay the fines. They get money from the federal government in terms of grants. They get a lot of money. So a lot of incentives from the agencies to go out and just rally around old town areas, bar areas, dispensaries, all sorts of stuff. It's pretty ridiculous. All right, here is a couple more before we wrap it up for the day. A little bit of a shorter show. Facts Matter says, Liz's new pronouns are done and gone. And 503 Unlimited says, if anyone actually done and gone, I like that. There's some good pronoun jokes that are floating around out there. Zuby said something. Zuby Music, you know Zuby? He's on Twitter. He said this today. He said, and this one caught a lot of eyeballs on Twitter. Very angry people. He said, ladies, go check him out. Right? He says, ladies, if you're man has pronouns in his profile, he's not your man. Provocative, wasn't it? So go follow him. He got millions and millions of impressions on that one. Good one. 503 says, if anyone actually thinks that Viva can be dangerous, I've got a bridge in New Jersey to sell you. Yeah, Viva is intellectually dangerous, but he's a peaceful man. Sergeant Bob says, Miss Lucky is so good she can kill a mosquito with only a 9mm shot. That's really good. Yeah, that's better than me. I mean, I can't do that. That's for sure. Probably. But that's a pretty good one. All right. And I think that is it, my friends, for the show for the day. We had, oh yeah, I forgot about Zuby. Yeah, he's the UK's leading LGBTQI plus powerlifter too. That's right. I forgot about that. I forgot about Zuby. Oh yeah, that's fun. All right. And so let's give some shout outs to our friends over on Rumble before we wrap it up for the day. We've got Larry 1, DW Delano, Anything's in the house, next to 2020, Catwoman MN. They're all chatting away on our Rumble chat. Please play the rap video from the other day. What rap video was that? That would be the Comey video. You want to play the Comey video again? We can do the Comey video. No problem at all. We have JC the locals tips. We got some locals tips over here. Hey, okay, so here we've got one from LeMasters. LeMasters says, thank you for all you do. I'm enjoying the morning walks. Well, thank you very much, LeMasters. Very nice. Yeah, the morning walk and talks are a lot of fun, actually. I like getting out there. It gives me a good reason to get up early in the morning and just get outside and get moving, get the blood moving. And I try to get those posted sort of as early as I can, but they're a lot of fun. So come check those out if you haven't already done that. And thank you for LeMasters for supporting those and those walks. I've got some other ideas as well. I told you I joined this new, they call it a social club. Sort of like a work away from home type of a thing. It's right down the street, very beautiful views. And so I think we'll be doing some walk and talks or some live streams from that residence, or sunset streams or sunrise streams. We'll do something. It should be fun. John McGarvey is here, says Locals is way better than YouTube. Locals is really coming up. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Locals, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but I spoke with not the developers, but the team over there. And they said that they are working on some new features that I'm not allowed to talk about, which should be cool, which means I can, do more things with the platform that I couldn't previously do. And I'm very excited about that. Thank you, John, for being over there. And Hunter's Crack Dealer is also in the house. John Allen said, agreed, Locals is absolutely better than YouTube at John McGarvey. It is, because you get a little bit of the community, right? You get a little bit of the community over there. So like other people post and you can leave comments and you can have threads, and you can't really do that on YouTube. So, I mean, I guess you can have the videos and stuff, but like you can't, if you're watching on YouTube, you can't post something to my channel, right? Whereas on Locals, you can post something to our community. It's sort of ours, not mine, which is cool. And so we're building that out and having a ton of fun doing it. And thank you for everybody who is, JC the Music Man says Locals is more intimate. That's exactly right. Indeed. And it's we can get nice and close over there. You know what I mean? So come check us out over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And it's a lot of fun. Now, I'm not trying to, belittle what happens on YouTube. YouTube's great, but YouTube it just doesn't have some of those same features. So come on over there and check us out. If you are a member on YouTube, all of the walk and talk videos, right? Those get posted right up there on YouTube. And I'm trying to think of ways to merge the communities and merge the audiences. And so that is going to be forthcoming down the road. But in the meantime, this is what we've got. So, is there more on? No, I think I got them all from Locals. Let's make sure we're good on Rumble before we leave it out here for the day. Over on YouTube, couple questions. C. Reed says, so what percentage did they take? So on YouTube, I think they take 30% of memberships. On Locals, they take 10%. And Locals owns Rumble, or is owned by Rumble. And there's some cool stuff that is developing. And here's somebody said, Tanner L on YouTube says, YouTube is starting to get old with all the censorship. I completely agree with that. Honestly, it's like if you can get enough good technology on Locals and these other platforms, people are going to start bailing. I hate to say it, but people are going to start making other platforms their primary, and they're just going to post the videos on YouTube to get eyeballs and audience and refer people to other platforms. Probably already happening to a large degree right now. And I'm not even sure YouTube realizes it, but it is happening. And, I think that alternative platforms are extremely important. It hardens us up a little bit. You were here with us when I got suspended from YouTube 7 days. I can't even post a comment on YouTube. I've gotten strikes. We've gotten our entire Discord group got thrown off after January 6th, right? It's really sort of a cat and mouse game. And when things heat up, we talk a lot about Trump here. They might just say, well, we don't want Trump talk at all. You're gone. So, you supporting us over on Locals or connecting with us on that platform, it really is meaningful. It sort of makes sure that we can be connected if things go awry. And they have in the past many times. So it's a great place to go check us out. watchingthewatchers.locals.com. But that, my friends, is it for us for the day. And the polls are still not closed over there in Wyoming. And so we'll have to catch up on that tomorrow. But we did cover a lot of ground. We hit all the Trump reaction. He's demanding they unseal the affidavit. We heard from Jim Jordan and Grassley. They're demanding answers from both the FBI and the DOJ. Read through all of their letters. The media smeared our friend Viva erroneously. And they're also, I think, just lying outright about what's taking place in this investigation saga. And Liz Cheney, we got her going away party tonight. She's going to be probably gone. We'll enjoy that tomorrow. But I want to thank everybody who was a part of the amazing show, everybody over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our friends on our YouTube memberships. Shout outs to Shane Sousa, Holy F, my S stinks, Stace on the Case, Curtis Bartle, all members on YouTube. Don't forget that I am a lawyer. We have an amazing law firm called the R&R Law Group. We're located in Scottsdale, Arizona. And our mission is to help good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope, not only in their cases, but beyond that in their lives. And we are very passionate about the work that we do. I spend a lot of time thinking about how we can help people get more of these three things: safety, clarity, and hope, systems and team members and interfaces between our office and the legal system, right? All of it so we can help people. And we're very appreciative of your referrals and your connections. We love the opportunity to help. So thank you for sending them over to us. 480-787-0394. Any type of criminal case in the state of Arizona, we can help with that. And a big shout out to a Rumble rant from Larry One. No question, just says thanks. And a very generous one, Larry One. Thank you for that as the show wraps up. I really do mean that. Very, very generous, very appreciated. Thanks for sending that in. And my friends, I want to say thank you to all of the mods who mod down the fort, especially when we get, some I'd say quite lively audiences. And, we don't normally get audiences this size at all, right? It shows you exactly how, I'd say, animated people are over this saga, right? Our audience is usually, I don't know, a third, a fourth, a fifth of the size that it was tonight. People are agitated, and this, and rightfully so. And so thank you to the mods who are modding down the fort, the Enticus in the house, along with K-Bean, Just Cause, Lean, and Playin' Hooky #1, all modding the fort down for us. Appreciate all of you. And shout outs to our Spotlight supporters, QSimple.com, Chris Romero, David B3 in the house, along with Dr. EMB. I am very grateful for all of your support and everybody who is a part of the show. You all make it happen. And so that is it for me. We will be back here tomorrow to do it all again. We'll see what happened with Liz Cheney. We'll see if there's new filings in the Trump saga, and there will be a lot more news to attend to, and I look forward to seeing you there. But until then, I hope you have a very restful evening. Sleep very well, and I'll see you all right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye, my friends.